What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we spot the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shan Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? So definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask CISSP. I do not have one this week, but the first week of December, I should have the episode with Lynn Dom from WeSys edited and ready to go. And then Fridays, everything else. So movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from cyberscoop.com, written by Tim Starks. And the title of this one is Meta Cracks Down on Millions of Accounts It Tied to Pig Butchering Scams. All right. So pig butchering scams, right? So what this is just like when it comes to pig butchering, sorry for any vegetarians or vegans out there, but you got to have to hear about this, is fattening up the pig for the slaughter is pretty much what it is, right? And so what Meta has done is that there's all these accounts out there, and this is not the first time they've done this, right? And actually, this is one of the things that, granted, we're talking about Meta for this one. This is one of the things that Elon hit on as soon as he took over X as well, right? Was getting rid of these accounts that were pretty much kind of fake scam accounts that were out there, or bots and things like that. But what they did, they took down millions of accounts that were linked to overseas scam centers, right? That were doing pig butchering. So what was happening was, you would have people that would get reached out to, and this, I'll go into this and then I'll give my opinion on this a little bit after, right? So what you would have was that they would reach out to somebody just out of nowhere, right? Be like, hey, your name was in my contacts. I'm just reaching out or doing something. Then what they try to do is they just try to befriend you, get in your good graces, right? And so while they're doing that, this is where they set you up, right? They lull you into a false sense of security. Like, maybe this is an old friend I don't remember or whatever, right? Which you would think you would remember your old friends, but maybe not. If you're one of those people that's heavy into Facebook, you got thousands of friends, right? Facebook friends. But what ends up happening is that all of a sudden they start giving you these different advice when it comes to like stock investing and things of this nature, right? So you feeling safe with them, you give them the money, or you invest through this fake investment scam, or you invest through this actual real company that they're playing the other way, right? So they're like, oh yeah, it's going to go up, but they may be shorting it, knowing something is going to go down or whatever, and you end up losing a bunch of money, right? So whenever you go to them and you feel they feel your sympathy, hey, well, do this. Like, I feel sorry for you, do that. And then people just keep falling into this cycle of getting pig butchered. So they fatten you up for the slaughter is what they do, right? And the fattening up was the gaining your trust portion of it, right? So here's my thing with this, right? If there is somebody that you don't know that reaches out to you for no reason, or for like, it's like Kanye's song Real Friends, right? Like, not a lot of us have them, right? So like, if somebody reaches out and wants something from you, I don't want to have to pay you $250,000 to get my laptop back from you, like Kanye says, right? Like, don't fall for this. Like, don't if there is somebody that's reaching out and you're like, I don't remember them or don't know them or anything like that, and then they start giving you unsolicited financial advice, like, the best thing for you to do is to do your homework, right? Like, if they're like, hey, I'm going through, let's say Charles Schwab or whatever, right? Just go to this website or whatever. Like, don't do it. Like, it is a setup. You don't know the person. They're setting you up to be pig slaughtered, right? As this article talks about. But the point of it is that Meta got rid of a lot of these accounts, right? But here's the thing. What is Meta going to do differently to vet to make sure this doesn't happen again? Okay. Is this just going to be an endless cycle with them where they're just like, because they're, as of right now, they're not charging anybody to get an account, right? Like, you can go on and set it up however you want to, right? Now, where it may be a little bit different is that I know that with Google, right? Like with Gmail, they started going through this thing to where they're starting to kind of go through and not shorten their list. What am I trying to say? Call their listings of unused email accounts, right? So I don't know if you guys have seen this out there. Gmail, like, if you haven't used it for 2 years, I think 2 years is the time frame for it. They're like, yeah, we're getting rid of those accounts, right? So people that maybe using them for this, yeah, exactly, right? And like, Gmail's like one of the most popular ones out there, right? So if they're getting rid of these accounts, and I want to say December is their deadline to where they're like, hey, it's going to be cut come December, you don't have that for you. But again, what's keeping you from signing up to a new account? Like, what's keeping you from doing this again for 2 years? Is Google going to get rid of the account in 2 years, right? Like, is Meta going to start doing better vetting to make sure do you have to provide more information or something like that, which is dangerous in itself. Like, people are able to give a lot of information. They already give a lot of information to Meta, right? But like if they're like, hey, we need more from you, right? Like if all of a sudden they need your social, right? Okay, we need some banking information or stuff like
Right.
that. Don't do it. Like all like don't do it. Like leave Meta if they start doing that, right? But yeah, this is people. We need to be smarter about these things. We need to be careful about what we're giving out to people. And I realize in this day and age of social media, we give a lot of information out there. We as humans, I'm saying. I'm not saying we as me and Ryan, right? Because I definitely ain't giving it. You gotta find the kid, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is interesting. I'm glad Meta took the step, but what are they doing to prevent it from happening? Like you're being reactive, not proactive to this situation. What are you gonna do different? What's your thoughts on this?
No, I think you're hitting it the nail right on the head when it comes to their being very reactive. At least they're doing something, but I think there has to be a piece. I disagree with you a little bit with them taking a little bit more information, only because LinkedIn is doing something similar where they verify you by government ID. And that's kind of iffy, but not really, right? Like you can do a lot with a driver's license and driver's license number because it's not public record to my knowledge. However, I think it's a step into determining if you're a real person. It kind of goes back to our last episode with the verification for your W-4 and I-9. My only fear is that because they're such a large company, a breach of that magnitude could be pretty like terrible. You know what I mean? Like if you were to target a small business, small to medium sized business, you'd only get so many of those IDs. But if you were to target a Meta, which has billions of accounts, you would have, you'd be spoiled in riches.
Or local governments, like we have seen happening, right? So like
Right,
local
exactly.
governments like have the DMV, right? Like so people are getting their driver's license from their DMV. All of a sudden you got that information once it's hacked, right? And it may not be the city of, Miami or whatever, but that's a lot of people down there that you can get that information.
No, and that's very true. However, it's kind of like how much of your security are you willing to give up for your safety? So there's a balance there. So there has to be something to be done at some point in social media. The business of social media, they're going to have to do something to verify real people, because it's not just bots on LinkedIn or not LinkedIn. I'm sorry, not just bots on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. It's now becoming a tool of social and political discourse being used by other nation states. So something has to be done to verify people and make sure that they're real. I just don't know what that is. And the easiest solution would be to verify IDs. But again, you're giving them a lot of data. So maybe there's a third party component to it. Like maybe you're not giving your ID to a Meta. You're going through ID and me or something like that will then feed Meta that, okay, this person is real. Maybe there's something like that, like some kind of SSO portal or something like that. I just don't know what that could entail, but something has to be done. So in the case of Pig Butcher, I was going to say shout out to Mike Ware. So Mike Ware brought this to our attention first, either earlier this year or was it late last year? I can't even, this year's flew by. I think it was earlier this year. But go ahead, Shannon.
So even with SSO, right? Like with single sign-on, like it is a convenience to you to where you don't have to keep doing it for everything. But again, you leave yourself open for that one-stop shop thing, right? So like you only need to get to one thing, even though you use it to access five different sites or whatever it may be. That still could be an issue in itself, right? Because we say it all the time. Nothing is 100% non-fallible, right? Like you're trying to limit the risk. You're not going to eliminate risk, right? So like even with a single sign-on company, you have to hope they're doing their part, right? Like we've seen it to where the password wallet companies have been hacked, right? So there's no one single solution, but you do have to try to minimize that risk.
Yeah, at some point, but we have to do something. Social media is becoming more and more prevalent. Billions and billions of accounts of real people, not just bots and things of that nature. I know Elon said he's cracking down on the bots, and he may be to a certain extent, but I get a request every single day on X. I barely use it, right? I repost stuff on there, and it is good for like at the time, real time news. Like when things happen, they go to X really fast. Hopefully, that won't just be an X thing going forward, because there are some other sites that are popping up, right? Depending on what side you lean politically, what have you, you have your Truth Socials or your Blue Skies and so on and so forth. But there's more of them. There's like Threads as well. Like, so you have a lot of Twitter clones out there, right? So hopefully they also are starting to move in real time. But Twitter still is the king of it. If you want your information fast and somewhat uncensored initially, then you go to Twitter. And then it gets colored one way or the other, depending on who owns Twitter at the time. So yeah, something has to be done, but I do think pig butchering is because it's so easy, and you're able to flip people, right? You're able to say, okay, now you're in debt to me in some way or service to me, and now you are going to be part of the pyramid scheme. So now you're going out and you're pig butchering people in these Asian countries anyway. I don't think it's got its hooks in the States yet.
Well, I think it's easy because people want to have something that nobody else has, right? Like this is the same reason why they say social media is so prevalent. Is because people can spread misinformation or disinformation on social media, and then people will just keep spreading it because they're like, I have something that you don't have. I know information that you don't know, and it's appealing to humans, right? But you have to go through and look at it and be like, all right, does this sound right? You know what I mean? But I don't know. Again, I go back to I think people need to be better. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is all Meta's fault. I'm glad they're doing something about it, right? But I said the same thing when it came to Russian interference when it came to elections, right? You need to do your homework, right? You need to not be doing this. That was my stance on it. And I still feel that same way today. You are ultimately responsible. No one is making you press the buttons, right? Nobody's making
Right,
you forward anything. Nobody's making you go out and say outlandish stuff. You know what I mean? That's all on you. You chose to take this information, whether it be something that you already believed and you thought it was reinforcing what you already thought to be true, or whatever the situation may be. Right? I'm guessing out here, but people be better at the information you put out there and what you give to people. Right? But
right.
in this social media age, that's not the case, right?
Yeah, you should vet whatever you're passing along because it happens. I reposted something. I had to take down myself because I before I vetted it, I read it and I hit the reshare button, right, the repost button, and then later on that day, I saw a counter argument to it with an article, and then I started reading, and I was like, I just passed along something that was incorrect, so I was like, took it down, and then I reposted like, hey, my bad, it's not true for X or Y reason. Because my fear, like, because you're like, well, why would you take it down? Why would you just put the edit? Because people don't come back to read the edit. That's the whole thing with newspapers. When they get it wrong and they say, oh, we were wrong, it's too late. That information's
So
out there. So I pulled it down so that way it doesn't keep being spread, but I also put an acknowledgement like, hey, I know I did, like, bad on me for pushing this misinformation. But misinformation has existed since forever. I think what separates us now from the past was, I mean, back then there was only a handful of papers and a very large population of illiterate people, so they weren't reading it anyway. So now we're very literate, and there's a paper for almost every single person. You know what I mean? Like, anyone has the freedom to now post anything they want to. So there could literally be a newspaper per person if we so chose, especially with the proliferation of AI. So I don't know.
it's quicker to get that information out there with social media, right? You don't have to wait for something to run to print, run to press or whatever,
Right.
and it get delivered to your doorstep. That's not the case. Your doorstep is in your hand now in the form of a mini computer.
Right, exactly. And then there's checks and balances in there, right? You have editors and people should vet this stuff before it gets to the top. And there's bias and it always has been. But yeah, like now I, as a person, could just hit the button. Like, aliens outside, post a shadowy, blurry picture, boom. Someone's out there is going to be like, there's aliens outside. But there actually might be. We'll talk about that on Friday's episode. But definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. Again, Monday, Tuesday, our topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. Hit up all the websites that go by our name, The Other Side, The Firewall, The Other Side, The FW, or Ask a CISSP. Also, check out ramcyber.io. It's not anything on there yet, but that will be the future anchor for all of this stuff. And hit me up at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me on pretty much all the platforms, but I'm more active on LinkedIn, so I'll probably get back to you on there. Stay safe. Stay secure.